If you're ever going to leave the city centre, which is the area to the right-hand side, point out that the city centre from around 1969 right up until 1995, we had a thing called the Ring of Steel. And the Ring of Steel was a security barrier which encompassed the city centre. And if you wanted to go shopping, you would be stopped and searched. Everybody was subject to being stopped and searched to get into the city. Isn't that right, Nicky?
That's right, I remember that well, I'm telling you. They had like a big steel turnstile that you had to go through, and there was police and security, and they searched your bags and everything.
You'd be right at home in
and it was just right here. It was just right, there was one just down the top of Castle Street. Because this is sort of like the Catholic sort of gateway into the town, you know.
We've just turned onto the Catholic road. Point out that if I had carried on straight and taken the next left, I would have been turning up the Shankill, which is the Loyalist or Protestant area. So both roads leave the city centre parallel. Now if you look to your right hand side now, you'll see a church. See that church?
Yeah.
We're going to use it as a landmark. It is in fact the start of the peace line wall. The wall that divides Catholic on this side, Protestant on the other, begins there at that church. And it runs up through the city for about 3.5 miles. It's the longest of the peace line walls. You'll get an opportunity later on, you'll be able to get a photograph, maybe even write a little message on the wall. So if you look to your right hand side now, behind the trees, above the roofs of the homes, you'll get your first glimpse of the wall. See it there?
Yeah. Oh, lovely. he's ignored the signs altogether. Well, that was fun. Okay, there's my sister Megan in the green top. That's my youngest sister. That's like shopping in the town. There you go.
Okay, folks, just stay in the car for a minute.
Okay.
She's so funny.
Okay, if you want to move over, Nicky, I'll just join you in the back there. Look.
What's your bag? Good
Okay. The Troubles, as we call them, began here in this road back in 1964, when a young Presbyterian minister asked for a flag that was flying in the window of the shop to be removed. The flag was a tricolour, the flag of Ireland, and the shop was a Sinn Féin election office. The police refused to remove the flag on the grounds that it wasn't actually flying. It was being displayed in the window. Okay, so the young Presbyterian minister said he would march up the road, smash the window and remove the flag. That's what he done. That started a thing called the Divis Street riots here in 1964. The police opened fire on the Catholic community. On that day in 64 they killed 3 people. First person to be shot was a 20-year-old boy, and he was in that block of flats behind you there. He stepped outside to see what all the commotion was and he was shot dead. That young lad was a 20-year-old off-duty British soldier, a Catholic boy from the Falls Road here. So the first soldier to be shot was actually shot by the police back in 64. Another bullet penetrated the bedroom walls of those flats and killed a 9-year-old lad sleeping in his bed. Third guy killed on that day was a Polish journalist. He was here covering the story. He was also shot. Now that young Presbyterian minister, he went on to start his own church, his own political party, and his own Orange Order. He is in fact a man called...
Am I right? Ian Paisley?
The Reverend Ian Paisley.
The Reverend, sorry to give him a speed title.
Right. So, this was Mr. Paisley back in 64. Now, we had civil rights marches in 68 and 69. These civil rights marches were attacked by the police force under the control of the government here. They tried to quell the Catholic uprising at the time. Okay. Catholics were just marching for jobs, they were marching for housing, they were marching for folks. And this is where the present day troubles really broke out on the streets of Belfast. The first soldier to be deployed here in Belfast was deployed in this road in 1969 on the 16th of August. Okay, that was the first soldier to be deployed. The British Army remained here in Belfast and in Northern Ireland until November of 2007, okay, when the last troops were removed. In 1970, the British Army went into that block of flats behind you there, and they put the residents out of the top 3 floors. They occupied the roof and the top 3 floors of that for the last 37 years. That was known as the British Army Watchtower. From their position there, the Army could watch the comings and goings of the Catholic community here on the Falls Road. Not only that, later on we'll see it's a great place to watch a Shankill from, also the other side of the wall. Okay? Alright. So that's called Divis Flats, and the Army left that in 2007. Okay? The people were given the houses back. Alright? Now, murals. Murals began in the late 1800s whenever Protestants would paint depictions of King William of Orange in the walls around the city. For Catholics or nationalists, it was a way of getting a message across. They were actually banned from writing in the press. So right on a wall such as this, someone from the family get into the city would read that message and go home and let you know what it was about. So it was a way of communicating for the Catholic people. The first mural there is to the GAA, the Gaelic Athletics Association, which was formed in 1884 for the promotion of Gaelic sports. Prior to this point in Ireland, it was illegal to play Gaelic sport. You could play sport, but it had to be an English sport, a crown sport, cricket, polo, rugby. This sport depicted here is hurling, very fast and furious sport.
We thought it was lacrosse.
Okay? No, it's called hurling. Okay? I reckon it's one of the most dangerous ball sports in the world.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is. There's 30 guys running about with big wax of wood. Alright?
Swing at it.
Next thing is a message to American friends. Hands off Cuba. Look what it says at the bottom, time for change, Mr. Obama. Okay? This was painted a few weeks ago to include Obama's name in it. Then there's a Basque country seeking self. No change, mate. All the best. Good luck. Cheerio. Next thing we have is the Basque country seeking self-determination like the Catholics here in Ireland have been for many years. Then there's Martin Megan, lifelong Republican. He died in November of last year. To pay tribute to him, they painted this little mural on the wall. He served about 18 years in jail in total for the IRA. When he got out of jail, he became a politician. Alright? So whenever he died, they painted that as a tribute. Then there's the Falls Taxi Association. When the Troubles broke out in 1970, it was very dangerous to do my job in the city centre. Yeah. 17 taxi drivers were shot dead. The Catholic guy said, look, enough's enough here. We're only going to work on our own road with our own people. And they set up a taxi service which operates exclusively on the Falls Road here. It means the drivers are only working with their own community and they're not putting themselves in any danger. There are 350 guys still operating on the Falls Road to this day. Okay? They use London-style black taxis. Alright. Now, it was so successful on the Falls here that Protestant guys started the same things on the Shankill, on the Protestant community. On the Shankill there's about 17 drivers. Now that's a big difference. 350 here, 17 over there. Well, the reason for that is the Falls Road is about 9 miles long. It's where the majority of Catholics in Belfast actually live. The majority of Protestants don't live on the Shankill. They actually live in the east of the city, around their main employer. And that employer for years was the shipyard of Harland and Wolff. In its heyday, that shipyard employed about 33,000 men. The unique thing about those 33,000 men were they were all Protestants. Catholics wouldn't have got jobs in the shipyard. The only time Catholics got jobs in the shipyard was actually during the war, when they were short of men and they needed more tonnage anyway. That shipyard's famous for building big ships such as
Titanic.
And I'll point out the Titanic was alright when it left Belfast. Put a fucking Englishman behind the wheel. Ran into the ice cube. Yeah. Unbelievable. Next thing we have is a mural that was painted a few weeks ago, and this was painted after we had some loyalists attack Romanian families living in the south of the city. Right? People at the time said it was like Arkansas in '57 when the black kids were attacked at Little Rock. Yeah. Or 2001 we had an incident here called the Holy Cross dispute whenever Protestants again attacked Catholic children on their way to school. Now the mural that was underneath that is underneath it, is America's greatest failure. Okay, and it had been on the wall since 2003. Any idea what we're talking about?
Slavery?
America's greatest failure? No, George W. Bush. George Bush was on one side of the wall and he had a straw in his mouth, and that straw went all the way to Iraq.
How many times